All right, ready? All right, we're gonna go ahead and start. Welcome everybody. We have a couple of citizens. First up is Mr. Cohen. All right, sir.
Yes, thanks.
Can you come up a little bit? Just so we-
Yeah, I'm actually gonna have you guys speak like inside the U. In front
Sure.
of
All right, we start. Am I starting with this?
Yeah.
Hold on one second. When you state your name, then your address, please, and what you're representing, and then get everybody in and out of here as possible. So I think NFL starts. Right?
Yep.
All right, so we'll make it quick.
Good.
Douglas Cohen.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So I submitted an application for, I guess, an alcohol permit for, Timberline, picnic area for retirement for one of my employees with, we're representing it as well. It's more on a personal level, but traditionally it's not. So, everyone there is of age, mostly in their sixties, so, it's on September 6th. So, so,
The only question I have is that it's one of our standard questions. You have insurance
well, she told me to, I have, even
for the
the,
insurance?
Typically, Tulip Insurance
Right.
provides, gotten, I guess,
yeah,
after they get the council approval.
Okay.
That's
Now,
usually, we say, don't spend the
so,
money
so
till.
let me rephrase my question. Will you get insurance?
absolutely.
All right. And then as far as the alcohol itself, are you, is there a bartender or is it basically just,
It's self-service.
Self-service.
So it just be a cooler. It's not really, it's more of an added bonus. It's not like party. It's just, everyone, it's, she's been with us for 30 years and asked, you know, hey, can I, because usually we just take them out to lunch, but, she said, you know, I have a thing that, sure. So that's,
Doug, I also know Terry talked to you about buffet. We can't allow a self-serve buffet.
yes, it's catered by, so she said she'll serve.
Okay.
oh, Teresa, hold on.
I was just gonna ask that, is there other call?
No, I talked to the health department. They basically said, because it said buffet, reach out to Doug and find out exactly what that meant. They're okay to do buffet as long as someone is serving.
Right, so we mix that and we're gonna do serve. They're bringing all the food, we're not really doing any cooking or anything like that, they're just bringing that. So it's just gonna be a lunch.
And all Gregory's owned by Teresa Malloy, it's a local.
Right, they know us, so, yeah. So that's the plan.
Any questions from the commission? Okay. We'll be going through our agenda and then we'll vote and then are welcome to stay or
Terry,
you'll get back tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, I'll wait for
and
Tara.
then it'll go to council September 15th.
Okay, so. All right,
I see you.
appreciate it.
Same on the family.
Absolutely, thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Next up, Mr. Carey, Ms. Payne. When I saw her name, I was like shocked. And Tommy is actually a real. Like, his father. I thought it was his father.
This is, I feel like we got a gym in our first one.
Yeah, I think I call her. Well, it's a process.
So Tom, can you please, when you.
Great. So, good evening, my name is Tom Arcari, I'm principal of Bloomsbury Arcari Down Architecture. We're located at 195 Scott Swamp Road in Farmington, Connecticut. And we have been engaged by the town to work on the urban community / senior center project for the town. We're gonna share our screen, correct? Good. So we're gonna share our screen with if anyone's following online, so they can see the presentation that we have going on. So over the last 3 months or so, we've been engaged in a process to identify what is the community center going to be. And that process has a series of steps. The first of which was to identify what actually is the community center going to be comprised of, what is its program going to be. We go about this a series of ways. The first of which is to have actual meetings with end users, tenants, that's the senior center, Parks and Rec Commission, services, their administration, and identify what their specific programs are. We review their facilities, find out how they work, what are the programs you're trying to run, what are the programs you want to run in the future. And it's as simple as creating a list and establishing square footage associated with each of those spaces. Another way we go about doing this is looking at other similar communities that have similar demographics, size, and configuration, population makeup, and how did we solve their solution? Like what were sizes and types of spaces that they had in their center? How does that relate in some equivalent way to your community? The third of which is to actually reach out and get feedback from the community as a whole. Because of the COVID restrictions, up until this point, we really haven't had the opportunity to do public outreach. We have now started that process. In meeting with the building committee, we decided that we'll have 3 public meetings, one of which is town council, one is with the Parks and Rec Commission, one is going to be with the senior commission. Pursuant to those meetings, we're going to start having a series of publicly invited meetings, probably in small groups here, and then we're going to talk about doing an online presentation. But the meeting today is to get feedback from this group and your constituents about our ideas, where we've come to date, and how we can update, revise the information that we have in front of us. So if you start looking at the package, page 2 is an example of the program, some of the programming that's behind the cover. So when we look at all of the spaces that need to be in the center, we look at every specific space. So is your building going to need an entry desk? How big does that have to be? What's going to be in there? Are we going to have an automatic door open? Or do we have an air curtain? Is there going to be an airlock? Is there going to be walk-off carpet or vision panels? Where is it going to be located? Is it going to have direct access, visual access to the administrative area or the check-in desk? Is there going to be a fire alarm panel there or a knock spot? How big does the space have to be? So we try and identify every little component needs to be in every single space, and then attach square footage to it. You go back and forth to this, and when you take all the spaces that are in the building, and you add it all up, it comes to a summary program. In this particular case, on the next page, you'll see a summary program for the building, rounded 70,000 square feet. I'm going to provide a lot of information to you this evening in a short manner. When the presentation is complete, we'll go through questions and answer. So, to put this in perspective, 70,000 square feet, your current community center has about 23,000 square feet. Senior center has about 25,000 square feet. So in rough numbers, between all the components and human services, you have about approximately 55,000 square feet. The pool in the gymnasium, which we're stating that need components, are about combined is about 17,000 square feet. Pool locker room in the gym is about 12,000 square feet. So at 29,000 square feet, 55 you have, that's about 84,000 square feet. Simple round math. But we're presenting a program that's 70,000 square feet. While it's a big program number, what you have to realize is that creating a combined community center is going to realize anywhere between 10 to 15,000 square feet of space efficient. What I mean by that is there are many spaces that are part of a community center that are the same exact program needs that are in senior center. Arts and crafts space, eating space, multi-function, a kitchen. Right now you might have a kitchen space for 2 independent facilities. You really only need 1. So by creating a joint facility for the community, you're going to realize significant space savings overall. As a part of this process, we took a hard look at your specific statement of need and the statement of need for the senior center. This program reflects all of those elements. That was the charge of the building committee. The only elements that are included in this program that are not in the original 2 statements of need for the services programming, it's our professional recommendation based on our experience in other communities that you move human services to your community center, including the food pantry. Most other communities are doing that. All of those programs fall under the guise of human services. It makes sense to have that all. So, in order to establish a program, went through that exercise, we feel very good about this, confirmed it with a number of other facilities that we've done. One of the reasons we were engaged in this project is that we've worked on over 30 senior community center projects. So we can use that experience to make assessments regarding where we're going with this map. The next step of our exercise was to evaluate different sites that available. The town had 4 town-owned sites we were asked to take a look at, those being the town hall site here at Kensington Road, town hall campus, site on Patterson Way, the Sage Park site on the Harlem Turnpike, and Fiscal Creek site on the Spruce Road. All of these properties are town-owned properties and were to be considered for community center location. So in order to evaluate sites, we need a number of things. 1, we need to have an idea how big the building is going to be. And 2, we need to know what type of elements would be on that site. So along with the building program, you'll see a site program document, which includes how big will the footprint of the building be. Let's say with a 1-story building. How much space does 200 cars parking require? How much outdoor activity space do we need? What space do we need for dumpsters, chiller, and all the silly little extra stuff you don't have to worry about? When you add all that up, it tells us that we need a site that has approximately 4.5 to 5, 4.5 to 5 acres of buildable land. So 4.5 to 5 acres of buildable land. So now we have a footprint used to evaluate those sites. You can't really evaluate the sites if the program that we need will actually fit that. The second thing we did is create a matrix to evaluate those sites. So if you look at the next page, you'll see a matrix like this. That matrix takes into factor about 20 categories and weighs the value of those. For instance, is a site large enough to accommodate the center? That's something that carries a lot of weight and it's really a deal breaker. Are there sewers accessible? Is it town owned? Having it town owned is something that carries a lot of weight because there's no financial impact to buying another property. Is it centrally located? Can majority of the community's residential areas get access to. Are there topographic issues on the site that require a large financial impact on those sites? So as we go down the list, a factor reduces in size. For instance, can we, is it compatible to the site zoning regulations? All of them are. So when you factor in the value and the importance, total it up, each site gets a score. And when we looked at all 4 sites, Patterson Way site scored the highest of the 4 sites. Now, this is not an exact science, it's subjective, but what it did do is enable us to look at these in sort of a qualitative way and determine, which or any of the sites stand out above the other sites. In general, Patterson Way and Sage Park stood out significantly as opposed to the other 2 sites for a number of reasons. At this site, there were some topographic issues and site development issues that made it very expensive to develop. Spruce Brook is located on the far eastern side of the site, makes access to it very difficult in residential areas. When you look at Sage Park versus Patterson Way, there are a lot of benefits to Patterson Way that just set it above and beyond. One, it's central to many of the residential areas in the community. It's directly adjacent to many arterial connections for access. 2, it's directly adjacent to the high school. So there are many intergenerational programming opportunities available between high school students, the community center, seniors, high school. If there is going to be an aquatic center here, there's going to be an educational program having it located directly in high school. Makes a significant amount of sense. Some of those intangible factors, my professional opinion, set the Patterson Way side to side. Discussed this with the building committee. The building committee agreed and voted for us to start to explore design options for the Patterson Way site. So when we looked at the Patterson Way site, a couple things stood out that were challenges and also benefits. In particular, there's a large amount of topography there from Patterson Way down to the back of the site. There's about 30 to 40 feet of grade difference from the road all the way to the far end of the site. Well, this poses a challenge, but it also presented an opportunity. We saw this as a chance to create a 2-story facility. Normally, we would recommend that the senior center be all on one site. However, because this program is so large, 70,000 square feet, it's spread out, it's a lot of distance to traverse as a senior. It's also a big volume building. But we saw it as an opportunity to isolate the main program component and put all of the senior programming on one level and the majority of the recreation programming at the lower level. That allows us to vary the big volume spaces, the gymnasium, the exercise room, into the grade, keep the structure low in scale so that it's apropos to the adjacent residential neighborhood. So in these diagrams, you'll see 2 schemes. These are the diagrams. These were our original hand diagrams that have, at the upper level, you would enter at the upper level, and you would have all the senior programming, the games, the arts and crafts, the activity classroom, senior administration, the multifunction room, and the kitchen, outdoor patio, all at this upper level, which forms an L. The building would have one single circulation spine down the middle, vision of the 2-story space that connects the upper and lower level. The lower level of the site site would have an entrance on the other end of the site. So you would enter from grade at both sides. And at the lower level would be pool, the gym, the locker rooms, the exercise and fitness spaces, and the administrative program of Parks and Rec. So this concept, the circulation spot, would have Parks and Rec administration on one end, and it would have the senior center administration on the other end. Both entrances to the building being monitored. We reviewed this concept with the building committee. They liked the scheme and asked us to look at the site and determine how that would work. So the next page is a map of the site. You can see some of the factors on the site that you can take into consideration, including if you hold it like this, you'll see south is to the bottom. So where is solar access? Where are the winds coming from in summer and winter? Where is the floodplain, which is at the back of the site? And where the topography is. You can also see adjacent neighborhoods. We looked at numerous ways to integrate a building into the site, but we settled on this particular site concept. This concept indicates that the building would have an entrance at both levels, would have parking at both levels, would have some outdoor recreation space and a patio to the east of the site. We would take the main portion of the building and tuck it into the notch out on the western side of the site. Benefits to this are that the exterior patio and recreation space with a lot of morning sun for the senior programs all the way to lunch. And in the afternoons, it will be shaded by canopy. So the exterior activity space will always be in the shade. So we'll allow parking for both program elements, and it allows us to tuck the big program elements into the grade. Additionally, this configuration of the building will allow us to maintain a very large buffer between the residential neighborhoods to the east and the south. This is a proposed concept plan of how the building might look, with parking at the top and bottom of the site, some recreation fields. These aren't play fields, open recreation area in the floodplain. That's to the north of the site. And then, interesting, one of the unique factors of this concept over on what is the eastern side of the site would be a small dedicated entrance parking area for human services. It's key that human service program, counseling, the food pantries have their own street entrance, so that patrons that need to use those services can get there through the center if they so choose, but also they can get there in the street lights so that they're not sort of discriminated against. So we took the diagrams that I had previously shown you, and we decided that we needed to make these real, turn them into a floor plan that would be a viable concept to get feedback from when we present to the public information group. The next plan that you'll see is a proposed upper floor plan. If you hold it like exactly the way it is, the entrance below is the upper level entrance that is right off of Patterson Bay. You would enter a covered overhang, so cars can pull up under cover, discharge their patrons, protected from the elements, much like you would see at a banquet facility, right? You enter the lobby, and senior center administration is directly to your left with an open counter. On your right would be the soft classroom area. The This is a room that would be used for waiting, reading, small meeting groups, small classroom groups. But right ahead of you would be a cafe. The cafe space would be the entertaining hub of the whole building. It is right in the spine of the main atrium, so that patrons of both the park and recreation or physical fitness activities at the senior center, all patrons of the building could use this in between programs. To the left in green are the game rooms and multifunction classroom, activity classroom. The game rooms we envision would look out onto the gymnasium below, and then all the way to the left, food service programming. Now, as you follow down the atrium, there would be stairs to the lower level, and then there would be an upper level walkway, which skirts by the multifunction room. The multifunction room would be 4 big meeting rooms, 4 meeting rooms the size of this theater that are interconnected. That would allow it to be open to a variety of configurations, provide programming flexibility not just for park recreation, the community center, but also for the senior center. This would allow seating of 250 people, and it would allow access to a full service kitchen. That kitchen would provide the ability to have catered events, use the catering kitchen as a warming kitchen, let's say for Meals on Wheels programming, or a full service front kitchen, so that you can prepare meals. This allows the community the greatest long-term flexibility in the use of the community center, allows the community center to be a warming center, or potentially a refuge in the future. It also provides a revenue generating opportunity to the community. A lot of community centers, like West Hartford, they rent their multifunction room out, wedding receptions. There is a market for that. It's an opportunity to generate revenue for community programs. I'm not saying that's what the town should do, but building that flexibility into your center is essential. And then at the very north end are the arts and crafts spaces. That's what that's named. You can see in blue is a walking running track. This is the upper level of the gymnasium. You would have access to this from the game room or directly from the upper level on. Turn to the next page. You'll see the lower level floor plan. At the top of the page is the rear entrance. So you would park on the opposite passageway down the hill. You can come in directly into the building grade. So the lower level lobby. On the right would be Parks and Rec administration. And on the left would be the pool space. You have an elevator, direct access to the back of the lobby, which can take you upstairs. And then beyond that are the fitness cardio spaces, and then the gymnasium. The pool and gym would be sandwiched by a bank of locker room facilities. We anticipate men's, women's, and family locker room spaces. And then you can take the stairs to the upper level. The pool, as featured in the statement of need, would be a competition pool, 8 lanes, which is wider. Many high schools only have 6-lane pool. And then there's a therapy activity pool space as well. Generally, it's in the second. And then the gymnasium would be, we envision it as a more middle school size gymnasium. For recreation geared events, it would have one high school size basketball court going across the width of the gym, and then 2 middle school size cross courts. Essentially, the width of the court is very similar, but the length of the court is shorter. This court would be recreation oriented gymnasium. So on the next page, you can see an aerial view of what the massing of the building might look like. What's interesting is that built into the grade, you can see that the height of the building on the left or the street side is the Patterson Way side is actually only 1 story in height, and that many of the residences we have massing of adjacent residences that are actually taller than the height of this building. You can see the drop-off entrance canopy on that side and the parking at the upper side, as well as the grade goes down to the right. You can see access road goes by the exterior patio off the home function room, and then parking down below. One of the interesting things you can see here is that the placement of the building allows a big buffer, again, of trees in the adjacent neighborhoods of the building. And then at the back of the site, you can see the open lawn area. Finally, it should be noted that both the gymnasium and the pool have very large mechanical requirements. Big mechanical size of like a tractor trailer truck or like a shipping container. There'll be multiple of those. We've actually configured the building to have a little well space in between the 2 large spaces. So over the locker room will be all mechanical equipment. So that equipment won't be visible from the adjacent neighborhood. The following pages show some images of how the concept images, what the building might look like. Here's a view from Patterson Way, how you would approach the community senior center entrance, the upper level. You can see on the right is the outdoor patio. That would be off the multi-function. The next image is a view of that outdoor patio space as you head down the hill to the back of the building. And then the following image is a view of the facility at the lower level entrance, community center entrance or Parks and Rec entrance. And on the left, that tall structure has Parks and Rec administration at the lower level and the arts and crafts are above it. And on the right is the massive house of school. To put together some concept images of what the interior of the building might look like. Again, this is all conceptual. But as you come in the front entrance, you would see the main gallery heading down straight left, and you would have the cafe space right in front of you, right in the center of the facility. To the right would be the entrance to the top classroom. The next image is a view of the main gallery. This is the circulation spine that connects all parts of the building. On the left is the gymnasium as you go down the stairs. And up to the right is the upper gallery that's off of the multi-function room. We see this corridor space as sort of the connecting tissue of the building where everyone can interact. Socialization space is essential in a community center. We're really trying to draw everybody out of their home to gathering space. Maybe not in times of COVID, but once we get beyond this, I do believe we will return to a state that's, well, maybe different, but I think it's human nature that we want to interact. The next view is a view looking the other way on that main circulation side. Looking back at the upper level entrance. And then finally, a view from the lower level lobby. These views sort of express our concept of what the volume might look like. We have a long way to go in regards to what the final configuration of the building is going to be and what the finish will be. There's so much more interaction to have. Just starting. The idea is to present this to you, get your feedback so that we can continue to refine. And And then the last image we have is an image of amazing space, up along the running track, and what that might look like for patrons. So that's really an abbreviated presentation of all the information over the last 4 months. Originally, our target goal was to provide information so that the town could go to referendum in November of this year. We got delayed to the start of our work because of COVID and some other contractual issues. So I have advised the Public Building Commission that it's not prudent to try and race to a referendum in November. The public hasn't seen this. We haven't had the opportunity to refine this. One of our next steps will be to continue refining the design and evaluate what the cost of the facility like this should be. That's information that the public certainly needs to apply upon. That's information that might change the final design solution. So we need time to do that. So it's likely to go to a referendum sometime in the spring. But I want you to have this information, talk to your constituents about it, start talking to your friends and patient developers, and then provide information back to us through Jen and the team so that we can provide going forward. That's where we are. Have any questions?
I think it was a really nice presentation. Love to see how much it would cost.
Well, you will. What I can tell you is that we have just completed 3 community centers, one in Brantford, one in Town. We're working on one in Bloomington that's almost complete. Structures of that nature cost approximately $400 a square foot in today's marketplace, plus or minus, delivered in a construction management delivery method. The town of Berlin is unique in that the town likes to favor design build delivery method. So the reality is you can't use that cost as a hard cost basis. But I think it's a good baseline. You're building a new school today in town, it would be somewhere between $385 and $500 a square foot, depending on lots of different factors. That's a ballpark. Everybody here can do simple math to sort of identify what the magnitude costs. But there are way too many factors that we identify, that we need to determine to identify what the costs. And of course, I'm sure you understand, being on the ground, that there's also decisions that will be made that will affect the project. Do we want less program? Do we need a gym? That's what we say we need, but we'll, we do without one of those things or without other program. So there are many things that will be considered as this goes forward, certainly prior to COVID. Newtown. So we did Newtown's Community Center and Aquatic Center, which is a senior center and a community center in one. And then what did we do? Newtown was completed last year. And I think that came out to be about 10 square foot. That's 2 pools, swimming pool, aquatics pool, and a recreation pool. But that doesn't have a gym. Brantford has a gym, doesn't have a pool, and Brantford is an addition project. And And Newington is new construction. Newington has a very large gym and multi-function rooms, but it's not.
Is the site of Patterson Way rezoned? It is.
The site on Patterson Way will require zoning for. Tom tells me, preliminary conversations with the planner, told me that it's a viable solution, but that's the use.
I grew up in Steve. Actually, right in that river, the bath, flooded tremendously. That's not going to affect this subject. So there's a here. So
So that will affect the project in terms of its final design solution. There's about 40 feet of grade difference between the road and the river back. The building will not be built at -40 feet. It will be built at -25 feet. It will be cut and filled. You have to stay out of the floodplain area. Solutions, final solutions will probably include big lawn area that's used to mitigate flooding conditions. But any solution would have to stay out of that. The parking solution that we demonstrate is like a maximum parking solution because we need to see if it would actually fit on site. The reality is the final solution would probably include a shared parking scheme where maybe some of the parking is actually accounted for at the high school for dealing with weekend type events. Maybe a portion of the parking is lawn parking for overflow parking. The parking itself is sort of a big issue, but we just want to make sure that it has enough space on the site.
I was wondering how that parking would work for that neighborhood because they have soccer games in high school. They go there during the game time. They're parking locally from Lower Lane down Patterson Way, or at the site now, and it's jammed out.
So this, again, this location would be seen as a resource for.
Yeah, this would be a good overflow for soccer bus.
So it would really, we see both sides working with each other. So, putting 200 parking spaces or maybe 100 parking spaces or 100 lawn parking spaces in this location, in a controlled manner, potentially stops, or doesn't stop, but gives the town the flexibility to enforce no on-street parking on one lane and on Patterson, maybe after parking these facilities and cross. A big issue that was brought to our attention recently was, would there be a traffic light at this location, or could there be a structure, a pedestrian crossing structure? I think more realistic solution is actually pedestrian crossing light, which stops traffic when pedestrians want to cross the road. But somehow traffic in that corridor will have to be modified, control traffic speed and allow for pedestrians to cross the street safely.
It's not necessarily happening. Sorry.
Not walking even with the speed, we still fly. Hey, Tom, in terms of light, because everybody around this town has asking for no lights. So, lighting the parking lot area, noticing, the trees that you outlined here. I can't remember honestly, these trees next to these homes here are big enough to manage what I'm kind of going at. Well, I noticed now with the lighting, you have a certain light where if there's no movement, that the light's actually kind of dim. I'm not sure if that's recent enough for a parking lot, or maybe parking lot. So I don't know, is there thoughts around that lighting configuration? What people may be concerned about right now, if lights going in the backyard.
So not only something that's taken into consideration, I know that all lights on dark sky compliant, so we light spillage off the site, and all lights be shielded so the point source can't be seen directly off the site, but that doesn't mean that people adjacent can't see a right parking area. So a lot of times our buffer includes, for lack of a better term, sort of a hedge of spruce or arborvitae that is thick. The road is 12 feet, so that visually you don't have that sort of light spill off. I haven't actually heard about the dimming lights or.
Yeah, they just redid all the lighting in it. And, yeah, so like now when you walk into a parking garage, it's dim. And as you physically walk or drive, it's brighter. So, yeah, and so as a pedestrian walking into the garage, you see it saving energy and then it lights up. It's pretty cool.
That's a really great idea. Certainly that's something we want to consider. I mean, you don't want the site lit.
Well, because we know some of the neighbors in that area, that, may push or have some concerns about. My biggest thing is probably the lights. Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. The layout and everything is beautiful. I mean, honestly, the way you designed it, where Joe went to college at Marist, they just recently did their facility. And they did a lot of structural design looking, it kind of reminds me of what you did there with the gymnasium up top, looking down, the weights rooms and everything, looking down into some of the rooms with way different things. It's really cool design, really. And my next question, one last question that I have is, Jen, as far as our specs are concerned, I can't remember what we wrote down.
It falls in line.
It all falls in line.
He pretty much follows statement of needs to exceed.
Perfect, okay. Thank you, that's the only questions.
So, if there's no further questions, I just encourage you to start talking to your friends and community about this, make them aware that public information meetings will be coming. This information is public information, so we're going to post it on the town website. So, we're still working on that, setting up a website, this information. Because it'll be important to start, introducing the public, getting their feedback. I anticipate at some point you'd have a neighborhood meeting, neighborhood, that would be one of the public meetings. And see if this can be a viable solution. So any feedback you have, please get it to me. Certainly don't want to have that directly, but it's probably better to channels through Jen. And just a quick shout out to Victoria Fagan. All of the information she actually made all of these renderings. Everything you see was done by.
You know Victoria, right? You want to know who she is? She's one of the best golfers ever to run high school. So she's my next door neighbor. That's it. I wish I could play golf. I wish she could teach me some golf, but one of the best ones.
Former partner has to play.
Yeah, that's right. So I think that's it. Right, Jen?
Yeah, thank you guys. I mean, it's great and I'll see you.
Great.
I used to listen to it again.
And Tom, just really, kind of off the record,
We're recording.
what should,
We're recording.
yeah, no, but I'm just saying in terms of, coming from Plainville versus and moving here, this town is very tight knit. So it's gonna take some maneuvering for those that grew up in this town, maneuvering to make something like this happen. But
What, over 30, 40 years we haven't had anything? I mean, if you can't get it done now, we'll never get it
we'll
done.
never get it done.
And this is something I've been pushing and pushing and pushing. Pushing out so kind of so
Yeah.
either whether it be the mayor, I told them, I don't know how many times I know that we have the board of finance on a lot of times. I mean, Sam knows Ryan, like that, at this point, because I know them so. I mean, if you can't get it done, shame on us.
No, I agree, but unfortunately, there's going to be resistance as we go, as we back in other things. But, I mean, if I'm a person, as a taxpayer looking at this, I don't know the number yet, but this would be something we can be very proud of. especially with as a park and rec committee and, not having all the necessary fields and, indoor spaces for them to do what she has to do. And this would alleviate a lot of our pressure, for the community, but again, that's where the taxpayers have to.
Well, that's the thing. What should the people say once they're getting shot? So you don't say it right before the police have it. But you say it right before referendum. You don't do it right before referendum. You say it 6 months before referendum.
Well, just like the
I just attempt to, just like they just keep saying it over and over again. Oh, why is this good? Why we need to get this done? Why we need to buy it? At the end of the day, you're going to come. Oh, yeah, that's true. We really don't have a lot for them. We really don't have a lot for this. It's just going to double our offerings.
So I only bring it up because if there's guidance based on your experience in what you've done in other towns, you said you've done over 30 years, understanding this small town, and there's a lot of influence around what people, let's face it, it's an old farm town, right? So they like to keep things as is. But if there's any influence, not influence, but any education that you can give to the people that you're having conversations to in the political, including the commissions of different areas that you're having those conversations, please do that, because I think they need education as well, because we can only do so much, right? As our small park and rec commission, but the decision makers have to be willing to take this to the next level.
So what I can tell you, that's what we achieved in other towns, is directly attributed to vesture. What that means is community input in this process. Every person that has input, that sees their input and ideas incorporated in design, becomes a champion of the project. And they will encourage their friends to be champions of the project. And we can't get to a critical path, a critical amount of support for the project until we have enough support across the community. And that's going to include compromise, right? Getting to a number that is palatable to the community without compromising the program beyond its functional tasks. And in the same regards, that will, like every other community, at the end of the day, there's a level of accountability financially. There will be many patients in the community that feel that way. And have to, again, convince the community as a whole that the solution is a financial response.
Well, and to your point, though, right, we've actually had some kickoff sessions, if you will. Can't remember how long it was, right? We had a high school Marinette scheduled. We didn't get a lot of participation there until we got the same people. There was maybe about 10 or 15, maybe 20, 30 max that showed up. So to your point, I totally agree with you. I'm just giving you that guidance that I think people need help in this town.
You see, and that's the problem, Don, is that there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of people that are just apathetic. And so want change, and the only time they show up is after the number comes. They don't know anything because they've never been.
True.
And then all of a sudden they show up and you just, no, because I don't believe in tax increases. No, it's all internal. Because that's what our mayor's told us, that's what our board of finance is telling us, that's what this person's telling us, what this person's telling us, and they don't know what they're talking about.
So we got to buy some. All right. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks. Go ahead. Appreciate it. Nice seeing you guys.
Sorry to get so animated.
No worries at all.
I have one more copy. Is there a commissioner?
You know what, Don?
Yeah, you want me to
Give it to
bring it?
Donna. Donna will be back, our chairperson.
Yes. We'll get it.
I found some of the other pages.
We'll get it. Don't worry. Thank you.
Thank you,
I
guys.
do get a break. My job.
Thanks, guys, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hopefully Donna will get a chance to listen to that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell her if she can't watch this one, they did the presentation at town council. He was very clear at the town council, so
How did that go? How did that go?
It was good. They had a couple questions.
Yeah.
They talked about the floodplain. They talked about, Peter Ross was the one that brought up the pedestrian bridge.
Yeah.
I just watched it this afternoon too.
Somebody that said it's not included, it's separate.
I think
They're glad they're coming to the commission meetings and they're glad to take on the statement meeting.
one of the things they started bringing it up on parking, honestly, those people should be parking, high school parking. Anyways, walking, they're too lazy, there's kids that are walking down the road.
Thank you.
But I think with the challenge you're gonna have there is if you have competing times of people coming in with school buses and stuff, that may be,
That's it, it's just not going to be set up.
that could be a challenge.
School meetings at 2:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, we understand.
So
Yeah,
that's,
we have a program starting at 2:30.
yeah, so that's something that's gonna have to be,
Maybe we can set something up, because there is a, yes. So maybe we can set something up.
I'll be a scheduling measure for that meeting.
Well, yeah, I mean, that goes down to.
No, just, yeah.
Well, I mean, typically, day like that, really time to start anything anyway. I mean, they would maybe if kids something for high school kids, maybe that like overflow. I don't even with the seniors, that's kind of like the winding down the day.
Yeah, their programs are usually from 1 to 2:30, 1 to 3. They're not starting something at 2:30.
Well, the good news is they control now the pickups.
Yeah.
As well, right, so there's no more on the road, right, so that is possible now. All right, let's go ahead and move it on.
John was supposed to call. Oh, I don't know what he did.
No, there's no there.
Give him a call over the next.
Oh, I thought there was also, it looks like here, there looks like there's an exit from,
There is, I saw that.
So that, maybe, you know, potentially, that converted also.
That's what I was trying to say.
But just like we have other things where it says, don't, you know, no traffic during school hours, we could say, you know, no exit during, you know, from like 1:45 or whatever, so that, I mean, that could work out well.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Does I have a motion to approve minutes for August 13th? A second? Okay, all in favor? Opposed?
Who seconded? Dinesh?
You were here, Steve, right?
Steve and,
Right.
and Andrew wasn't here, so we have to vote for minutes next time.
Oh, that's right.
So we will, Dana, did you get that? We'll put that off till next meeting.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, so consent agenda. Right, so there's nothing we have, let's have a discussion on the first point. Conversation around that. Or
My only question is, for 21 people, okay.
yeah, because
Yeah,
I
you
thought.
Outside, you can have up to 100.
100
That
outside.
was only protests and riots.
No, no, it's not 100. Trust me, I know
Weddings
everything.
and everything.
It's 150 was the special permission for graduation.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now, so there's no other conversation on item A, I'm just thinking of this, but item B, there's no information on that, Jen, other than.
So he sent it to me after I had written it up. It's 6 wooden signs that are current sponsors of Little League. I don't think he takes them down between seasons, which is why that's going to create a conversation because according to banner policy, it should be taken down at the end of the season. But they're those old wooden ones that are,
So this was the conversation that we had with Bill Parker.
right. He emailed me, he gave me the information that there's 6 wooden ones that are sponsored.
And this is the one that Donna brought up last meeting that she didn't want, we didn't approve because he wasn't here and we didn't have all the facts.
Correct.
So does everyone know, does everyone have all the facts around that little league thing? We need to talk about that.
Well, we should,
That's the only thing is he didn't get back to me yet, and that's the biggest thing is Woody, he doesn't take those down the off season, right?
well, I find that, that's another thing I find
So let me just give you some context why they don't come down to be your person that put them all up for many years. Because a lot of those old ones can't come down because they're so rusted on the back of the bolting of it that you have to literally cut them off and do it. So I think it becomes a situation where the volunteers don't want to deal with the headache. That's my personal.
I took a walk around the Red outfield to look at how they were put on the fence, and it's not like zip ties and a band-aid or cutting it off. I mean, you need some tools.
I'll be honest with you, I've been there, and it's both of them big, it's a 5-inch screwdriver going in, on the back it's got a plate, and then you have to screw it on, and basically the rest of it sticks out like this, so it's really a pain. So, I mean, we can either do one or two things, we either table this one again and go back and say we're not gonna move on it because of the fact that, Bill didn't get back.
We want to know if he's going to take them down.
But,
He's not going to take them down.
so let's do this.
Here's the thing, that he says it's gonna be, possible, the approval for it. And basically, at that point, then you have to get brand new signs, so it's kind of.
But he did say, outside, again, this was outside conversation, right? Is this okay?
Conversation we had.
Yeah, so he said outside that he is hoping to be able to replace signs with the ones that he's putting up now.
Vinyl
Signs. He says he has not done anything over there. Those sponsors have been sponsors for many, many years. I think it's Dapper Bus, Born Free Builders, Dairy Queen. So they're continuous. In fact, he said he didn't even charge anyone this year because of COVID. So he just left them up there, and so he is talking about replacing and replenishing as the years go on.
So what I'd like to do is reach out to Mr. Pettit and say, they don't want to vote on it yet because they want to know what is the plan at the end of the season. If he comes back and says he's not going to take them down, where does that leave us?
I'm just talking about at the end of the day, these people that have been sponsors for a number, right? I don't think, I think it becomes the principle. No, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. That's what I'm just giving you my perspective based on being involved in Little League for a number of years, and knowing what a pain in the butt it is to put out.
But that's another thing. For right now, I just don't want well, they want to spend their time away from it. And now, especially between school, you have virtual and you have in classroom, and it's half and half and stuff like that. Some people are going to really take the time apart. The volunteers really got to take the time off.
But in Tony's defense, the group that came last month is doing that at the end of every season. And then they're coming back here to get approval again. And then at the end of spring season, they'll take them all down.
What I'm saying, what I am saying, and I'm not a good avoider, so I've been talking for a long time. But all I'm saying in terms of, I was talking more about the sponsor, not so much about coming in. So maybe the motion needs to be made is that we will approve as long as they come down at the end of the season, and the decision has to get granted towards
the season and the situation that next year is better next year.
Or take it, or they have to come down.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can edit, we can't add anything, but you can edit the current consent bid, however you want. That's how you want to vote on it.
They're up right now because it's fall, right?
They're up right now because they haven't been done.
I understand it, but we're
Yes.
talking fall.
Right, fall.
Do you know why he didn't get back to us?
I think he honestly just didn't see the second question on my email, and I didn't realize it until today.
Do you want me to call?
I think we all know he's not gonna want to take it down until he gets replaced them.
Well, then someone make a motion and we can take it. should be.
Or do you want to table it and have it come in October until October 1st?
So can we at least vote on A?
Yep.
Because A, I think,
Yep.
right, do I have a motion to accept A? Which is Mr. Cohen and the, service of alcohol? Favor?
why don't I invite Mr. Pettit for October?
Or someone want to make a motion on something?
So I'm okay with giving a motion to approve this year.
This season?
This season with the stipulation that well, not necessarily this spring, we'll do spring, come back next fall with a plan to upgrade the signs.
So you want to approve them for fall plus spring 2021?
They've been there for,
Right. No, I want to make sure it's written right.
and we put the one time in the year from now, you're gonna have to.
So request for Urban Motorway to continue to hang existing signs at Beretta Pier for the fall and the fall 2020 season and the spring 2021 season.
With the understanding that the following fall
That fall
of 21,
2021,
he will need to come in front of this commission with either new sign proposal or the removal of the existing signs. So, like what you want to say? And you just need to give Bill a courtesy call, and
I'll call him tomorrow
I'll do the same and say, hey,
yeah,
figure it out.
okay. Dana, we'll figure that out tomorrow, but yeah, hang existing banners at Beretta Field for the fall 2020 season and spring 2021 season, with understanding that fall 2020, prior to fall 2021, Berlin Little League representative needs to come in front of the commission for replacement
For
or
reapproval of sign hanging.
at this field. Okay. So that's the motion. Somebody make a motion.
Tony already did. So someone second that motion? Okay. All in favor? And Jen,
Yeah.
can I just ask a question? Who's Joe Miller?
Joe Miller runs the junior division.
Is he the junior division?
Little League. He's
Okay, 'cause I
also,
called you the other day, I forgot to ask you.
yeah, he's also, I think, the treasurer. Yeah.
Okay, but he's under the umbrella of Bill.
Yeah. And he's very, very organized.
Yeah, no, I know he is.
Like
He does all the
working with Joe.
website, he does all the
Yeah.
website. I know who he is, I just didn't know what position he held, was he the vice president of the league?
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
That was a good conversation, by the way. I think that, good conversation.
Yeah, I'll call
Make
those
sure that
tomorrow.
we let Bill know. And giving him a year, Tony, to your point, is more than fair. Yeah. And he, when he was there, he understands that he's got to do something with the signs. And maybe we have to have a conversation with the likes of Joe Miller on some of these items. Jennifer.
Yep.
If he, and I don't know who his vice president was, because when I used to be the vice president, I used to do a lot of things on the side with Bill and just say, Bill, this is what we're going to do.
I have no idea who he is.
No, they really are a pain. I mean, the concept was good back in the day, but they're just really a pain. And I think the only way you're really going to get them down is really cut them down. Honestly. So, yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and move forward then with Parks and Rec, please. I'm sorry. All right. Sorry.
I'm gonna skip the daily and weekly, go right into current water. So we have a substantial amount of damage from tropical storm by Elisa's, primarily the southwest lake at Safe Park. Which after a couple of weeks, we finally were able to hire a crane company to come in. Crane companies lifted the pipe and the pole off the field, over the field, into the staging area. I don't know what the state's calling it. you want me to go over where we are with that right now?
Yeah, you may as well.
Currently, right now, is we've already been in contact with the structural engineer, and it is the structural engineer he wants to cut all the bolts that are on the platform. Turn everything 22.5 degrees, re-drill it, re-epoxy, bring the studs into it, and possibly reset the light tower. The problem is these light towers are a company called WITCO. They have been recalled from 2000 to 2005. Our poles supersede that and are installed in 1993. But the structural engineer does not feel comfortable without running ultrasonogram on the welds and the poles to guarantee the structure of them. That's currently what the whole is now, is we're just waiting to get somebody, and when they come in, they're going to see all the poles inside Safe Harbor that are white. So which means they're going to be Zipadelli and Solis prior to them signing off on anything. He'll stamp him redrilling and moving them. He won't stamp it. The poles are all certified.
Can I ask a question? So he's only certified bolts. We're not going to replace them.
Correct. We would all like to reuse the pole that is on the ground. Sure. See that the manufacturer is no longer in business. So if that pole is not usable, we'll have to change the base structure, the light, everything. Go to another company, which I would imagine is Busco. Right. So we have 3 white goes and 1 Busco, which is totally based on lights. So that.
Right. And then that means what you have in that corner is the lighting being a little different than the other side.
Right. If it is the case that that's the way to go, that is going to delay that light bulb.
So to that point, and I thought that's where we're going to go. I don't know if you've been there yet at nighttime with those lights on the other 3 poles without that light. Have you seen it? Okay. I have the practice. It's not bad. That corner still gets a lot of light. What would probably have to happen for soccer and the football does play, you probably have to pay a fortune just to give something in the corner pole line. May not be an issue for soccer users. That would be a little
trying to reschedule games.
that would be a shame.
Yeah, Franco was talking about that when we went down to the 6th year. I asked him about it. I said, I did. Yeah. Something else.
We are still trying to find portable light towers to bring in because we need insurance on top of that. Whatever we bring in has to be equivalent to what we're doing. We can't grab 2 of the ones that are on the Mason track right now, crank them up, because it's going to be the lighting, the wash. If we have a pump up in the air, crosswalk is flying across, and the lighting is not right, somebody takes it, people light it. So there's a lot of moving parts of that that we do as it goes.
I did not hear that. Yeah, no, I was thinking based on what I saw, that you'd be able to bring some portable lighting, you'd be okay, not understanding what you just said. If the AD is going to shut down all night games anyways.
That was this year. High school. Yes.
So clearly then that must mean that there's not going to be any fans. But to me, that also means that there probably won't be any fans in the seat because that's his game.
That's another.
That's his game.
Yeah, I have gotten heads on that.
You see what I'm saying? Probably say moving the.
Well, you can only have 100 people. That's your teams, your referees, your coaching staff.
I mean, soccer, you gotta assume it's hard to.
Yeah, for football, that's about 100 people.
You're talking 64 people, right on the 2 teams.
What was the rest of everything?
Everyone.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Okay. So to speak.
No problem. Also during the storm, it knocked out the panel, the steel. The picture in front of you right now is 2 ideas of what we want to replace it with. The B on the upper part of the page is the exact B that is on the center of the football, center of Scalise. Minus the blue outline that we'd like to put back up. The next one just represents all the sports that currently play on there. I don't know what your thoughts are. Send it to Dave. Rick Landria, Dave happens to like the giant bees. double check. I saw
This is replacing the gray.
the gray faded signs as well. So,
I think it's like, just simple. It's branding. And something that's child and wrong. I think it's true.
the reason he went with blue vital signs, white, bit dirty, too quick, red fades faster than anything else. I think he would pass the longest. The concern for blue would last the longest. So
He made those other signs too.
he did, yeah, the other signs. And this was his recommendation. And that those are like $400 a panel. You have to replace all the panels. This is throw it up, it starts to fade, it doesn't look right, you change it all of a sudden. Start simplify everything. That pretty much covers all the storm damage. The next thing is trash at Pearl High School. Tom Giovi has been on the phone with Jennifer and myself probably a dozen times over the last month. Currently, I go there every day, somewhere between 5:30 and 6 o'clock in the morning. The most garbage that I found during a Monday through Friday is at 70s. During the weekends, when they get a lot more use, Saturday morning, you'll find somewhere between 25 and 30. Sunday morning, you're right around 25. Last week, we had Labor Day. We went down there on Tuesday morning. And it was
That's what I heard from John.
his concerns were he's called the police, nothing's been done. Jen and I both have spoken to him. That's a problem he has to take with his department. We can't discuss that here. He's got no help from anyone. He doesn't believe that Jen or myself are doing anything to help assist with the trash that's been there. The music, a lot of music, and the swear. Once again, we've been there every single day. We have not noticed any of that. I know you've checked with.
Yeah, so when we started getting the complaints that it was more than just the trash, it was the loud music, the swearing, and the speeding in and out of the parking lot, where pedestrians were getting scared. That's when I went to approach the town manager and Chief Platt, and the chief basically instructed us that if we get complaints that are about loud music, or swearing, or the speeding especially, to have them call dispatch. So that's what I told John, who has supposedly told his neighbors. I checked with dispatch at the beginning of September, and they had 4 calls in a 3-week period in August complaining about loud music and speeding. I emailed them twice this week. I haven't heard back to see what they've gotten in the first 10 days of September. In the past month, the only call I've gotten has been John. Town manager had 1 call about 3.5 weeks ago about the basketball courts, and since then, nothing.
So every Saturday and every Sunday, I go for a bike ride. I shoot by as many fields as I can to check it out. I was there the day the place was a mess. The police was also there the day it was a mess. The players that showed up were appalled at the mess that it was. And the police spoke with the players at the time. I ended up leaving, went for a bike ride, did my tour, went home, came back with my car, and the place was clean. This place was cleaned up. Police officer told me that, first of all, there's nothing against the law of, this is what he told me, of putting trash on the ground. It's not, there's not a sign about, there's nothing that says you get arrested for throwing trash on the ground. There's no one. Number 2, he felt that there wasn't enough signage that demonstrated that they should put garbage in the cans, which I then spoke to Woody about, and I believe that got fixed as well. Then I came back again, the police wasn't there, and I spoke to the gentleman that played. They look like they're the same gentlemen that were there each and every Saturday and Sunday when I drive my bike. They picked it up, they cleaned up. They said to me point blank, they felt like they were being set up. Because the way the trash was laid out, there'd be no way that trash could be laid out in a circular manner of the court. So someone must have placed things there. So that's what they were feeling, but they assured me, because I asked them, I said, can you please let your friends know about this? And they said yes. And then called Jen the next day, because the nicest thing that I saw on them that time is that there were so many people playing basketball, walking the track, playing tennis. It was like standing room only. It looked like a town park the first times that I saw during that weekend. And it was actually nice to see. Now, people came to me and said, well, we can't get on the basketball courts because out of towners play. I said, well, there's nothing I can do about that. I mean, it's a first come, first serve basis. I'm mistaken. But like I said to Jen on the phone, it actually looked nice as a commissioner seeing the usage of the school. And that's what I know.
I think I can shed a little bit of light. I actually. So where I live, where my house is, whenever I stand outside and don't now in business, I'm a smoker. I smoke outside. So sometimes I'm standing up in the front lawn. I'm looking over, and it gets to dusk. You have loud music going from there. You get you're swearing every now and then, but no, nothing from my ears, nothing. And that's what we're but it probably, when you hear about the complaints afterwards of, oh, it's dirty, all the stuff, when you read it on like things like the Berwick Buzz, or when you get emails about it as commissioners, it doesn't surprise me, because if you correlate it each and every time, it comes from the same guys that end up, and when they come out, they peel out right onto Patterson. They peel out, they come down my street. And it's like they use it as a drag strip, all the way down to Overhill Court. And it's absolutely, it annoys the absolute heck out of me. At some point in time, my mother told me, she goes to me, Andrew, at what point in time are we going to be able to get like some type of speed bump or something like that in the middle of Overhill Drive? And I said, the minute they actually decide to, the minute we actually decide to go ahead and do both sides of Patterson, because then there'll be less inclined to go ahead and start driving out. Yeah. So yes, no.
I don't know why you fixed the problem,
But I don't
like.
Yeah. I don't.
I mean, John is the man that puts clothes and town manager. With Don, I mean, I don't think that's the answer, because I think there's people. I was just going to say John is the guy that's calling me. He wants them shut down. I mean, 2 months ago. He's a resident.
Right next door.
I'm not sure where he lives. He walks his dog at the course.
97 Patterson.
Yeah.
I think continuing to tell, if I get a complaint, if I get a call and it's about speeding or anything like that, I think the best thing is to keep telling people to call the police. I mean, that's not something we can regulate. We can't hire a staff person. A, that position doesn't exist. We don't have a budget for it. And B, it's not like it's every night from 5 to 8 o'clock. I mean, you can't just put someone there. Not to mention, if some of these players are confrontational, I don't want to hire. You need, if you're going to put somebody there, you need to put a cop or a security guy there.
I mean, I don't think it's.
I mean, they're open year round. If we have nice weather in the winter, they can go. They can't go on during school hours. Right. But they can still play at dusk.
I still see guys play. I mean, there's nothing stopping me.
My personal opinion, I think for the most part, a lot of these people are very respectful. The group that's there in the morning, both groups that are there during the week, in the morning, and show up around 6, 7 o'clock. I've never heard them swear, never seen them make a mess. And when we walk on, of course, to pick up the mess, they're like, these people are going to ruin it for us, and they're close. And they pick up after themselves, and there's never. So I don't think 5 to 7 water bottles constantly. I think what goes on the weekends is absurd, but somebody has to file a complaint with the police. If it's Giovanni or one of the neighbors, of what's going on there, so we can identify. If it comes to adding gates and having to lock them, at 5 o'clock or at dusk or whatever it is, that's not, lights on to those basketball courts, but that's just punishing for facilities that's actually.
The only, like they mentioned this discussion there, the only way you're gonna really be able to identify problems, problem makers, if you will, is to catch them. So whether someone gets a license plate number of the speeder going out of the parking lot, or someone has license plate numbers of the people who are swearing, I mean, that's the only way you're gonna be able to do that. And the only way you're gonna be able to have that happen is if someone's willing to be there to do that, or a neighbor is gonna have some kind of way to take the picture. There's not a camera from the school in that area, right?
The cameras from the school.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
and Roche did talk to the security director at the high school.
right, well, I mean, does the police need to go look at the camera and find out if they can see what's going on? I mean, if the camera is constantly on, they will know who's dropping the garbage in the mess, right? They should be able to identify whether it's a true statement or not. I mean, the other thing, Jen, you can do, in my opinion, is that, other towns are having, not only say they have the same problem, but they have the same usage. Britain in particular, I mean, are you familiar with their Park and Rec mission, Park and Rec lead director? I mean, can you call and see if they have the same issue there?
I mean, I know it started in Plainville, I think Plainville was the first one to shut down the courts.
Field is still closed.
Because Plainville was having a problem at River Park.
Right.
I mean, Colonel Parsons came by and I texted you guys about that. He was walking the day that there was a mess. And he thought it was raccoons. And I said, no. I said, unfortunately, it's the players. He says, well, if they can't, take care of our town, then shut it down. Now, and I'm sure that other town people would probably say the same if they do, and they were having involvement. But then you take it away from the kids that, like again, I drove by the other day and I saw a bunch of 9 to 10 people. They were town kids. They all rode their bikes there. They were playing hoop. It was great to see them. So
Somebody is vandalizing the courts 2 different ways. There's a trash can lid that has been thrown on the courts 4 days in a row just to make it look like somebody's trying to cause it. So we took the trash can lid away, and now the trash can hasn't moved since we took the lid away. 3 or 4 water bottles where somebody would have put it down and left and just forgot about it. Okay. You can tell the garbage cans are kicked in, bags ripped out of it, there's trash thrown on there. It's purpose, it's malicious.
that's why someone needs to look at the footage, because
Yeah, like those days that when you see something like that.
Yeah, you can tell the police on a day that that actually happened, but they decided that's,
I don't know who would have it.
yeah. Security officer report that.
Yeah, but all we have to do is really just contact them.
Well, it's a police matter, it's legal, so, and that's why we've been informing the police when we get the complaints.
So my only recommendation is that if you guys see something, let everyone know, because that's what I did on that Sunday, I fixed it, so that's, sure, took some pictures, sure.
Yeah, I'll start taking walks.
It's just a shame, because, like I said, it was really nice to see activity. We got tennis courts, oh my God. I told Jen, you can't, the gentleman that came that wants to put that, what's it called? Pickleball. You can't put it on those courts now. I mean, where those courts would be, it's amazing. Okay.
Then the last thing part of the Parks and Rec report is, the Central Connecticut built another bridge. They put it up, donated it to the town. Ground staff installed it the first couple of weeks of August, and haven't seen it. It's a walking bridge that used to be on the 17th, and it came out absolutely gorgeous. They did a great job. So thank God for the Central kids. I'm sure.
We sent them a thank you again.
I did, and I believe the golf course commission.
Oh, great.
I sent one to their professor. They mostly, once I hooked them up with the golf commission on this one, they kind of ran with it.
Nice.
So,
That's good.
Maybe it's the same kids that, you know.
Different kids, same program,
Different kids, same program.
same professor.
So we sent them a thank you, I think. Huh?
Yes. Yeah, so I hope you both.
Do you want me to discuss pickleball?
Yeah, keep going. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, have a good night.
Jen and I have been discussing pickleball, where we can put it, low elevation parks. We kept an eye all around these Berlin tennis courts. There is very little use there. It seems like whenever there is use, they're using one court closest to the parking lot. We think if we have funds in the budget, which we currently do not have now, we could remove the post from the second tennis court, and put 2 pickleball courts there. We can take the net down now and bring our own portable pickleball net, play there without a problem. We can probably get on the court before them, or we hire a company to paint pickleball there, and they can have 2 portable stanchions. We currently don't have any money in the operating budget to pull out the concrete stanchions. We have 2 full size. But there's plenty of room right there. We could almost put 3 space 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. I think we have money at the end of the year, this year.
All right, in his Parks and Grounds report, the only thing we didn't touch on was stage 1. Stage 1 construction is underway. The article was in paper. It's on time. It's on budget right now. And the only thing I'm asking is that either in the October-November meeting, I'd like to discuss, once the field is complete, how are we changing the facility field use policy for usage on that field? I'd rather not wait until construction's done and it opens in the spring. I'd rather have that answer now. So when someone like Patrick from North Bay Games reaches out to me for next year, or someone starts talking about events they want to do in the spring, I have an answer as to who's going to be able to utilize that field.
Something kind of already did that.
We did, but we need to vote on it and vote to change it in the policy. So I'm just asking you to think about that, and maybe next month, when that is back, we can just vote on that so I can change it in the policy. Have that answer in case people ask.
Well, one thing, we're gonna have to be consistent with zip.
I agree. I think we're all kind of in agreement. We just have to make it normal, just like we did for zip.
Understand.
And that's it. You touched on everything else on Parks and Grounds. So.
Yeah, one last thing, I tell everybody this all the time. Fields have never looked so good. It's because we don't use the jacket, but they look great, so hopefully we get some growing in the roots. Good job. Please. Right? Yeah, bro.
Wow.
I know you always say, I was trying to get you first. Yeah.
I mean, my monthly report is pretty straightforward. I've been really just trying to work on, getting groups into the facility and, Tony had this group in here this week. Well, I'm happy we had some stuff in last week. So they're slowly coming in and just our numbers that we can accommodate are so low. It's not even forcing some groups out, but we're falling within the guidelines that we have to have people safety in our building. One of the big things is the number 3 about the usage of the schools for the winter. We're not going to contact the Board of Ed. Superintendent is not going to decide for October 1st. If they're going to allow anyone in right now, they're just letting people in other than the school. It is the live or the plan. But they're not approving anyone next. So it's going to be a wait and see. And then I think we have to figure out at that point if things stay the same, if we want to actually offer basketball and take that on, because there would be a lot to fit into that program to make sure that we're offering it safely. So that's a whole other discussion. It would be tight. It would be very tight. And the school would have to pay a lot to clean, which I'm not really sure how they would feel. I think during the week for practices, they're going to be so good at the building. The rest of the building, I'm not sure that will be able to kind of help us out. So it'll be a discussion that.
We have to clean between each game, each practice.
So, yeah. So it would how many people we can have for practices. I've already done like my head preliminary game schedule where we would have, we have to end games, have a half hour in between cleaning, get everyone out of the gym, clean, before we can let people back in. I'd have to hire additional staff, we have to monitor who's coming in. We would have to only allow so many people, so it's, you know, like a facility like Griswold, you can't really have spectators because there's no place. I mean, you could maybe have 10 people, so how do you say which 10 get in? So there's gonna be a lot to.
Is there a, I don't know if there is or isn't, is there a park and recreation committee forums, like statewide? Do you guys?
Oh, I've talked to several other committees have already been told by the board, but they're not allowed in, so they're out already for the winter.
So I mean, surrounding towns, so say for example, okay, so if you consistently talk to each other, then you come up with a common decision that benefits each town, and it's not like Berlin is being, you know, not say you decide we can't do it, and Plainville does,
Right.
then you have controversy. Well, they're doing it, but we're not.
Right.
So you would collectively be able to talk.
I've talked to many, I've recommended those discussions, similar to what we did with the summer.
Yep.
Where people doing, you know, we try to mirror a lot of it. I know that right now Rocky Hill is registered for basketball with not a commitment for education at all. And then saying, you know, we have to just refund everyone, I think that would not be acceptable. We really want to get involved in at this point. Newington looks like they're going ahead with the program, but they have a new facility, so they can control it. A big difference than going into a school building, because they know they can change it to everything else. We're kind of at the mercy of the schools.
So I appreciate that, but so my question would be, when do you typically register for basketball?
That being September, so October 1st is, you know, we would, if we were able to try to do something, I've already got it updated.
Right.
So we could just spend next week.
Switch.
Yeah, I mean, we would have to limit teams, we could have less teams, unfortunately, because we still only have so much money, budgeted for custodians on the weekend, so we would have to expand to say a 6-hour time period, but we would have to build all this other time in, so game times would be reduced. And that would reduce playing time. I believe I've already worked a lot of that out.
So you have a no-go date in mind?
It's really based on what the Board of Education
Right,
is going to say. And then,
what's going on with football right now? So it's up and down. So what is your no-go date? Because you don't want to be in a situation where that happens, right?
right. But if the board, so I guess, so my question will be, if the Board of Education on October 1st says they're going to allow us in, then we've got to approach the town manager to say, okay, this is the situation we're in. Does the town want to take this risk potentially to offer this program?
Yeah,
With
but I think you need in the back of your mind, this is just me, if I was sitting in your shoes, I would look at a calendar and say, this is my go time frame. Here, there. If the Board of Ed comes to you on October 1st and says, okay, now you have another time that you have to do this, then you got to register, now you're talking.
I have everything ready to go right now. If they said October 1st that we can do it, I've got everything ready to start registering. Everything's set, everything.
No, I'm just looking out for you. You know what I do. I mean, I just was thinking that we should have a date that says, hey, if we're beyond this time frame, October 5th, to use an example, if I don't have a decision by superintendent, town manager, I can't do it.
Right.
I mean, I'm just looking out for you because I don't know who the heck's going to do all this work.
Well, I've done, it's all ready to go. I mean, it's ready to start registering and everything. It basically is what the Board of Ed wants to do. If they can commit to what they have to do for meetings, then again, it's just going to the town manager, like, is this something that, because we know we're going to get complaints, because we're not going to basically probably allow fans. I think that would just be the easiest. Because then you don't have to worry about a lot of the cleaning, you just have to worry about where the teams sit. But is that to be what people want to do?
See, that's the nature of basketball. For me, I think it's more about the
Good,
so,
all right.
so right now, again, I think I mentioned this last meeting, you can have one spectator per player. One, that's the current state guidance.
I don't see them allowing high school basketball to start right here.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the Board of Education can't come up with a decision on October first, I think we seriously have to say that we're not gonna be able to run play. Because it's similar to the pool, you can't, like, we got it up and running, but it really was not to how I would have liked it. But it was fine, we were following everything. I think, I have the quad instructor to help me, I don't have anyone to help me, so if they can't come up with a firm decision, if they say November first,
Well,
I can't do
I mean,
anything.
I'm an usher at church, and I
Yeah.
just know the process of what it is to clean at the end of church.
It's a lot,
And I'm thinking to myself, who's gonna do that for you?
right,
After each practice,
Right.
during the week, then on the weekend, and
right.
I would,
Well, I think that on the weekend, in my eyes, we're paying the overtime, so we should be able to say, that instead of you taking your custodian and doing other things that you can't do during the week on our dime, now you can do this. I think the practices are my biggest thing, because I can't have two teams practicing in one gym, and a lot of times, that's what you guys give people practice.
right?
So, I don't want to make that decision by myself. But I think there has to be a discussion, are we willing to do this, knowing that we're not going to be offering the same basics that we were on? Yeah, that won't be a decision I'm making by myself, I can tell you that right
No,
now.
I would bring it up because I know it's gonna be a headache.
It's gonna be a huge headache. Because how do coaches teach basketball? Are we supposed to provide them with wipes? I can't do that, because I can't get them for ourselves. So, yeah, I ordered them and paid $43 for shipping. There's no way to get them. So there are a lot of logistics that may not just be able to, be able to do. I thought, believe me, I thought.
Okay, that's fine.
I have nightmares about this floor, that's why there's markings on it for my yoga class.
Pretty sure you put basketball flags in it too.
Oh, good job. So yeah, that's been a big thing, and again, just getting the groups in here, trying to coordinate their ones. I've had a lot of extra work. I just want to get people back. And then, Jen distributed the fee schedule. We received this from the finance director, so they would like it by the end of November. So I figured if we gave this out to everyone, and then, give your chance to look at it, to discuss it at the next meeting. It includes not only programs, but also the notes.
Yeah, so we're hoping everybody over the next month can look through it and come up with some ideas, think you might want to bring things on to the same field. I think we had already decided to alternate every year with couple programs we had talked about, so I think we're asking you to look it over
So
and
where
then
are the changes? You said
Yeah,
changes.
we didn't do the
For you
changes.
guys to look over the, for the next meeting, we can discuss it.
We can discuss it and go through what changes you guys think, we can input what we think, come up with an idea.
Okay, so this means nothing. The highlights that you put up now, it says changes highlight, I was looking to see.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, that's
normally what
just
he does is he puts it over here.
Right,
Yeah.
so nothing was
We
changed.
have not,
Nothing was
we have not done anything with it, we just. Last week.
So I guess the question I have though is that, do you have any sense of what changes should be?
I
Based
don't,
on,
for me, program wise, I think we need to go up because minimum wage is going to go up. So in order for us to meet their request to try to have programs pay for themselves, then we will have to go up again. Even though we went up and none of these programs ran, they're gonna get like a double.
so I guess from my perspective, not being close to $4, whether $4 should be good or $4.25, wouldn't it make more sense for you guys to update it based on what you think makes sense and then send it out to us and we have it in that discussion?
So last year, you guys asked for more input on it.
Yep.
So that's why we wanted to give it to you blank. You guys come with your ideas, we'll come with ours, we'll discuss them, and we have 2 months at this point. It'd be nice if we could agree on
Did
stuff.
I ask for more input?
I don't remember who it was, but I
Is it
remember.
Sylvester? No, Okay, that's fine, I'm just being very,
Typically, just
I'm
so
just
you
being
know,
very
we
honest and
will
transparent.
go forward, we'll go $5 per dog, we'll go $1 smaller. Field fees, we changed residents up $5, so we had talked about how this year we'll change non-residents.
I hear you, you want us to look at it with basis, yeah, I just changed.
Yes, it looks substantially.
One other fee that we're gonna look to add, which we gotta go, then have to go for like a special, sort of issue this year was the cousin pools. Because of the structure of how we wanted to charge, it wasn't addressed, we had to go get approval from the council to be able to do that, so that's one fee we're gonna look to add. In case we need to do it again, we'll have it in place. I think if we have to do it and we do both pools, I would also recommend doing a non-resident fee, which is what other towns did during the season. We didn't do it, we just stuck strictly with residents, but if residents aren't filling the slots and we can get non-residents who will pay, more money, then why not do that to generate some money?
You're gonna get this to Joe and to,
Yep.
Right, got it.
I know that was my opinion.
I don't know, an Eagle Scout reached out to me over the last week or so. Does anybody have any ideas from the park side of what they with stuff?
Is there anything on the new field that's being done that could use some kind of project? Because we haven't built a shed that one year over there, right? So, yeah.
We gotta do some fence work, some sign work, build some bridges.
I would have to take down the signs at Beretta Field.
I was thinking they could make new signs from the restaurant. Or set a charges.
But I think they should go to violence.
No, they should.
And that would be an innovation for the town.
Soccer. Awesome.
Soccer West.
Yeah.
And then an 8-mile long section there, so.
I think that was that to
Soccer West, I guess, is doing.
Is it Dorito?
Soccer West, is that the one? Yeah.
Okay, well.
Think
maybe
about
that's-
it.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's,
it is.
maybe that's another thing we need to think about. When does he need it by?
I told him I'd see if I could come up with something out.
Top of my head,
I can't think of anything.
this wants to come slicing my yard.
It's like, it's slicing.
Pick up trash at basketball courts,
Yeah, right.
draw pickleball court.
All right, you done?
Motion to adjourn.
Hold on.
Oh,
Okay, second? All right. Percent.
Tony, that was you.
Bye, Dana, thank you.
Hi, Dana.
All right. You keep on open that?
What does she need 10 more minutes for,
Over that?
Yeah, she never does.
I was just gonna ask the same question.
that was the original, wasn't that